This is Chester, and this is Chester's roadmap to success. This is a bully stick. I'm going to use this to keep him in the shop for a little bit. So basically, Chester, I was called in. Originally, my notes say that he was a resource guarder. We didn't really work on much resource guarding because it's possible he's a resource guarder, but I think this is more of a case of he thinks that he's in charge of the humans, and the humans don't listen to him, and that stresses him out. Let's do this end. And so basically, just like a parent who has a child that's not listening to them, and is doing things that puts themselves in danger or what the parent perceives as danger, the child thinks it's fun. Well, the child is having a great time, the parent gets stressed out, and eventually that's temper tantrum. That's like, it's called demand barking. He wants the treat and he wants to go chew it where he wants. Well, it's my treat. If you want to chew it, you got to stay in this window. If not, you can bark over there. I'm not going to beg him to do what I want. The choice is he does what I want and gets a reward, or he does something else and he doesn't get the reward. So, like I was mentioning before, a parent who has a child who is jumping off the bunk beds might break their leg eventually, and the kid's having a great time, but the more that they do this, the parents also think, well, it's going to hurt the foundation of the house, it's going to crack in the ceiling. There's a whole bunch of things we don't tell the kid, but the parent gets more and more frustrated, and the more frustrated they get, eventually they might yell at the child, they might say something they don't mean, and things along those lines, because we're under stress and pressure, and we mean the best, but we only have so much grace to offer. So basically, I think he thinks he's in charge because there weren't really any rules. He was probably under-exercised, and he gets to tell his humans when to pet him on demand, and then he just walks on top of them, literally. And so if you imagine what kind of an employee you would be is if you had a boss who said, okay, there's no rules for you, there's no consequences for anything, and whenever you feel like you've worked hard enough, you tell me and I'll cut you a paycheck. Even if it was just a second ago I cut your last week's paycheck, you're going to be a crappy employee for that company because you don't have any motivation to do anything that's wanted. Now, for dogs, they want to contribute to your group, and most of us do a really poor job of communicating what the dog could do to make us happy. Rules are important for most dogs. You can get away with not having rules for a well-behaved, balanced dog. Very rare when you have a herding breed dog. These dogs are designed and bred to be independent thinkers and problem solvers and to be in charge of others. So if you don't have rules and structure for them, they often get the impression that they have to herd you. Sometimes, like, you got little guys like this, they're nipping people's shoes, they're barking at them, and they're saying, hey, I don't like that person, the look of the person outside the door. Don't let them in. Why did you let them in? I told you not to let them in. Oh my God, now you're... So he just doesn't think people are listening to him, and that stresses him out. And just like us, more excited, when we're overexcited or overstimulated, that's when we're going to make more mistakes. Now, one of the things I mentioned when the family's father came home is, and he did a great job about doing this pretty much on his own, but a lot of us, when our dog comes home, when we come home, our dog's jumping up and down going, you're home, I've been waiting for you all day. They jump up, or they're barking, they're spazzing out, and we pet them. Well, anything your dog is doing when you pet it is what you're specifically amplifying. So one of the very first things I suggest to him is when you guys come home, ignore Chester completely. Don't look at him, don't talk to him, just walk around as if he's literally invisible. And as soon as his energy calms down to like this, start reaching for him. You reach for him a little bit and you start wiggling, pull your arm back, and then continue doing what you were doing. What we're saying to the dog is when you're calm, you're very attractive to us. When you're excited, you become invisible, and I'm not going to engage with you. Now, dogs learn through repetition, consistency, and good timing. You have a window of 3 seconds to correct or reward your dog for them to understand what's going on, but it has to be repeated over and over again. So if every time I start reaching, the dog wiggles and this reaching stops, after enough repetition, the dogs are like, oh, so if I stay calm the whole time, they're just petting me. And now we're helping the dog to achieve a calm and balanced state of mind. Excited is not necessarily happy when it comes to dogs. Matter of fact, when dogs are overexcited, just like us, that's when they're most likely to make mistakes. So by helping him practice, so we have not a family member, but somebody who's dating one of the family members who comes over and plays with him a little bit rough. I would say, dogs have 10 levels of energy. 0 is asleep, 10 is as crazy as you've seen him. I would say this is like level 1, level 2 energy. I would say that when the boyfriend comes over, he's allowed to play with Chester until Chester gets to level 5 energy. And when one of the family members says 5, that person has to immediately stop petting Chester and playing with him at all. And stands up and crosses his arms, and Chester's probably jumping around. Come on, man, let's keep going. Don't look at him. Don't say no. Just freeze like a statue. You want to essentially become boring. Helping him practice calming himself down and having breaks is great practice. Also, if I'm having an argument with somebody and we've been arguing for 5 or 6 minutes, our intensity of our argument and our energy is going to be higher and higher. And if you get me at like level 9 energy of the argument, somebody says, hey guys, let's not argue. I'm like, well, fine. If he wants to support a racist, I just can't let it go because I'm all invested and I'm all worked up emotionally. But if somebody comes over and we just start the argument and they say, hey guys, let's not talk about politics, I'm like, okay. So dog's energy level is the same thing. If we let him get up to level 8 or 9 energy, it's going to take him a long time to settle himself down. So if we help him practice not getting too excited, or when he crosses the mid-level, the level 5, all play stops when he crosses level 5. Eventually he's like, okay, so if I stay at 4.9 or less, the good times could continue? Yeah. So, all right, so to flip the leader-follower dynamic, the first thing we talked about was exercise. The Guardians have used one of the creative ways that I like to exercise my dog, but if we only use that way, it's going to be, it's going to be diminishing really quickly. So one of the things I like to do is use the stairs. I throw treats up and down the stairs. Now, first time you do it with an empty stomach. Well, always do it with an empty stomach, but the first time you do it before you feed him breakfast, and do it on a weekend, so if you can let him potty if you need to. But basically, throw the treat down the stairs. When he goes down and licks it up, call it Philippines or whatever you want. Call him back up and give him another treat and call it like Canada. Funny words help because dogs should read facial expressions. Try to come up with some funny words. And then count that as 1. And then keep on throwing those treats up and down the stairs and count each down up as 1 until he looks at you like you're crazy. I'm going down there 29 times. I'm not going down there anymore. For him, I'm guessing it's probably going to be around 30 to 50 times. Now we know what his maximum number is. And so then we can exercise him like 50 to 75% of his maximum number 3 to 5 times a day. There's 4 people in the house. I think if everybody in the house spends like 4 or 5 minutes throwing the treats up and down the stairs with him, sprinkled throughout the day, you're going to see a dramatic improvement in his overall behavior. Also, we can set him up for success. If we have a neighbor or if a guest is coming over, the boyfriend's coming over, that's a great time to exercise him, give him 5 minutes of exercise and make sure there's at least 10 minutes of rest before the guest arrives. So that way the dog's like nice and relaxed. Your guests are like, oh my God, Chester used to be so crazy. Now he's so well behaved. What happened? You're like, yeah, doggone problems came by. But really what we did is we just set him up for success by helping him exercise. That's why we have recess and gym class at school for little kids. It's hard for them to do it, for them to pay attention. Now you saw right there, he just nudged me. And that's a good time for me to talk about what I call petting with a purpose. So if he nudges me and tells me what to do and I do it, well then that reinforces his belief that he's in charge. So instead, when he nudges me like this, I'm going to say down, down, down. And when I pet him, I'm going to say just the command word. So if you saw, I didn't say Chester sit down. I just said the word down. And when he did it, I petted him and I said the word down a second time. So now I can pet him as much as I want. When he tells me what to do by nudging me, that's a leadership quality. If I follow him, then I'm telling him, yes, you're in charge of me. So instead of when he nudges me, nothing happens other than sit. That's an example. This is petting with a purpose. So if you want this treat, you have to do something to earn it. You have to sit. And as soon as you sit, I'll let you chew on the treat a little bit. So when he comes up and nudges you, instead of petting him and validating that he is in charge, communicate to him that he's not in charge. Tell him he has to sit. When he sits, pet him under his chin. Say the word sit and only the word sit. Avoid reaching over the head. Proud dogs have their nose up in the air. This facilitates that. Insecure dogs have their head down, and this facilitates that. So try to avoid petting him on top of the head. So when he does it, say sit once or down or whatever the command word is, and then you can pet him as much or as little as you want. One pet to infinity. What will happen after a while, he'll start coming and sitting in front of people to prepay to ask for that attention by sitting down. When he does that, make sure we pet him under his chin, say the word sit. Or if he's already sitting, ask him to come and sit over here, or ask him to lay down. So we have to do something to change his state or prepay for the attention. Now, if you see somebody comes, that was my stomach rumbling. If you see somebody coming in the room, or somebody comes to the room and sees that I'm petting Chester while he's standing, then they would say paycheck to me. Paycheck means I suspect you may have forgotten to pet with a purpose. At that point, I would stop petting him, tell him to sit or lie down, then pet him under his chin, say sit. Then I would tell the person, hey, I actually did it right from the jump, but thanks for reminding me because I do pet without a purpose a lot. So it's just a gentle reminder to help us remember to pet the dog with a purpose. And even if you want to pet the dog, you're still going to say, or you're still going to ask him to do something to earn it first. And again, only say it once. The more you say it to your dog, the less you mean it. If you get in the habit of communicating or saying and repeating the command word over and over, you're helping your dog practice ignoring you. So I really only say it 3 times. I say, Chester, come. If he doesn't come in a normal tone of voice, I say, Chester, come. That high-pitched voice you saw was very attractive and it catches their attention. So say it in a high-pitched voice when he looks at you, then say the command word. And then if he doesn't come that time, then I would get the leash and I would walk over there very casually. Don't walk over there aggressively because that'll make him move away. Walk over there casually with the leash, attach the leash, and now we're coming with. Or go ask him to sit or whatever it is. You just have to let him know that, look, we're going to do it my way. If you don't do it the first time, I'm going to say excited just to make sure you have my attention and give you another opportunity. You don't, then I'm going to go make it happen. But each time you give up, that makes the dog more defiant the next time you have that exercise. All right, getting back to petting with a purpose. If you get in a habit of petting with a purpose, every time you pet your dog, it becomes a micro training session that accomplishes 3 very important things. It increases the dog's respect for you as an authority figure because you're telling it what to do rather than it telling you what to do. It's also boosts the dog's self-esteem because in getting this attention for no reason, I'm earning the affection, so we get that self-esteem boost. And third thing, it helps the dog practice sitting or lying down, which are both subordinate positions, more respectful ways. All right, so that's petting with a purpose where the dog's initiating contact with me or I want to pet the dog. The other side of that coin I call passive training. Passive training is waiting for the dog to voluntarily offer you the behavior you want. So every time Chester comes to you, pet him and say, come. Every time he goes to his dog bed, call it Florida. Every time he sits down, pet him and say, sit. So if we reward the dog for doing the things we want, it'll motivate them to do those instead of the things we don't want. For dogs, any attention is validating. So if Chester comes and sits in front of me, I ignore him, nothing happens, or he goes and chews the furniture and I go correct him. Well, chewing the furniture is the fastest way to get the human's attention. And I'm going to be trained to chew the furniture to get the human's attention. And so it's a very common mistake people make with their dogs. So instead, we want to pet with a purpose and use passive training to reward the dog for things that we want. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a command. We can make it into a command. So every time he takes his first bite of food for 3 months, maybe we would call it sushi. So now sushi means I get to eat. Every time he takes a drink of water, call it water or agua. Every time that he brings you a toy, name all your individual toys. If he does something unusual, let's say that he's like, every once in a while he stands up on one leg and goes like this, call it pogo. But the idea is we're not luring him to do it. We're just waiting for him to do it on his own. And when he does it, we richly reward him. And after, like if you're at work and you do one thing at work and every time you do it, the boss comes out of his office, comes and gives you a $100 bill, we're going to start doing that thing more often because it gets you a reward. Same sort of thing for him. All right, we also went over the escalating consequences, how to disagree with dogs. And then we did what I call the leadership exercise here on the floor. If you forget how to do the leadership exercise, come back, go to my website, click on Doggone Problems. If you're, look for the section called Dog Training Tips. If you're on a desktop, it'll be on the right side of the homepage in the red bar. If you're on your phone, you just press the menu and it'll be there. Once you go there, there's on the desktop on the right side of the page, there's a search box. On a laptop or on a phone, it'll be at the bottom of this page. There's a search box. Just type in whatever you want to search for. Escalating consequences. Another one, the CER or muzzle. And so basically, there's a lot of videos that you can find there. So I forgot what I was sending you there for in the first place. It will come back to me. But the leadership exercise. See, it came back around. All right, so a practice for the leadership exercise. Mom is the one that probably, everybody should probably practice it a couple times a day. I usually do it with about 5 treats each time. And eventually we're going to get to the point where we can just sit down in our chair and the dog's sitting with a treat in the middle of the floor and not trying to get it. It helps you practice those escalating consequences. Florida, he went to the dog bed again. And it also helps the dog practice listening to and respecting and seeing the humans act like leaders. So it's really powerful for that regard. Let me see, what else? Make sure the humans are eating something before they feed him. One of the humans in particular, he growls at when he's eating his food. I would suggest that human goes to hand feeding him 1 meal a day for at least a week, probably closer to 2 or 3 weeks. Now, when you're doing this, I would hand feed him like this. If the dog's, let's say the dog's body is here and here's the dog's head. Well, actually, let's do it this way. So I'm going to be feeding him like this. And while I'm feeding him, I'm going to have my hand on it, just touching his flank while he's eating the food. And when the food stops, pull the hand away. And you're not petting, you're just literally touching his flank. So we want him getting used to us touching him while something good is happening. And after a while, and you're doing this way on his back hip, not on his front hip. And then eventually you can pet a little bit, and eventually doing a full pet. And then we gradually start working up the dog's body until we get all the way to the shoulder. And he might grumble a little bit. But eventually we get to the point where, it's right here. Where we're going to start down here, and eventually we're going to get all the way to here, and have our hand under his chin while he's eating food. And if he grumbles a little bit, that's okay. If he gets stiff and stops, then kind of pull your hand back. But the idea is if we go slowly, we eventually get all the way back up there, and he's just like, okay, you're a weirdo. People, when they give me food, they like touching the side of me, but nothing bad happens. And after enough repetition, he feels comfortable with that. Now, if it is resource guarding, he resource guards a person, place, or location. or an object, I have videos for that as well. Please message me if you can't find them or search for them on my website. But if it's resource guarding, the worst thing you do is physically take the thing away from the dog. That validates the dog's argument. So come, that's passive training right there. Sit, down. See, I got 3 passive trainings right there. So rewarding him for all these great things. Now, he also doesn't like the vet office. See, so right here, I'm petting behind his ear and he's loving it. Well, the vet put their finger in his ear and he tried to bite the vet. So now he's on a muzzle when he goes to the vet, which is why I mentioned the CER. So what I would recommend is create a positive association for the vet. Start taking him to the vet. If you got a checkup coming up in a week, take him to the vet every other day. Go in there, give each one of the vet techs in the vet, ask if you use an exam room, recreate all, as part of the element. So the first time we just go in there and I walk around to each one of the exam rooms and somebody tells me to sit and gives me a treat. Make sure they make them do something to earn it. No free treats. And so after a while, I was like, I love going to the vet's office. Every time I go in there, if I sit in front of people, they give me treats. Chester. The first visit, do that. Second visit, do that, but also ask if you can go in an exam room. Put him up on the exam table. And then have the doctor the vet come in and give him a treat. Tell him to sit, give him a treat, give him another treat. And eventually get to the point where just all we're doing is just give him a sit, treat, and say sit. So after we do this a couple times, then the doctor can say sit and give him the treat and pet him a little bit here. I'm not touching his ear. I'm just near his ear. And next time I might do a little bit here, and eventually I'm scratching the back of his ear. Now at the same time, I'd like the guardians practicing this at home. Now a great way to do this to get the dog really into it, and I'm going to take one of these treats out. Make sure you always fold the air out of the bag of this treats. I'm going to leave these treats with you. Fold it over and burp all the air out. They'll be as hard as M&Ms if you don't very quickly. So what I want the guardians to do is smash it like I showed in the video above and just kind of get used to him lingering here while we're just petting the back of his ear. And again, something good's happening. I'm not sticking my finger in there. And we're doing it in his home environment rather than the vet's office. So if you guys practice this a lot here, and the guardian, are you okay? The guardian was behind the camera, was like thinking he was going to bite me. But I've given him half a bag of treats. We're buddies. So after a while, that's what we want the vet to get that same credit, because I've gone in there, no barking. We've gone in there multiple times, and she's not sticking her finger in my butt. She's not sticking her finger in my ear. She's just giving me treats and petting me. And again, she should do the same thing. Pet him, give him a treat, and pet here, and gradually work their way back up until you can get back close to the ear. But you guys should be investigating his ear and doing all the things. Have the vet show you or just describe to you so you can recreate all those things and make sure, again, treat, and then I look in the ear. Treat, I lift up your lips. Treat, look in your butt. And so after a while, the dog's just like, treat means, thermometer up the butt means I'm about to get a treat. Go ahead, knock yourself off, weird humans. Sit. All right, now the video above we talked about, hey buddy, yes, we want to play. I don't want to play that rambunctiously. We're doing a video right now. So when you're playing, when you're doing the video, watching the video above on counter conditioning, again, move further away. You might have to be in the basement or way over there, or have somebody holding a pillow over that chime box. But if you go slowly, you'll eventually get to the point where the doorbell rings and he won't think that he needs to do anything about it. Now we have a window, we're in a kind of a second story up here. So he kind of looks out the window and looks down into the backyard, which is not fenced in. So you might maybe call that Polka Piggy. We have a polka dot piggy. That's what the sound is. He's not farting. Well, I forgot where I was going with that. But basically, the temporary fencing, remember, you can put that in your backyard. It costs you about $60, $65. I really highly recommend it. It's going to make a big difference. Going back to the leadership exercise, I'd like everybody in the family practice like with about 5 treats once a day. And after a while, he'll start making him lay. You should make him wait 2 seconds before you say booty and gets the treat. Then 5, then 10. Try to get up to the point where he can wait a minute or 2 without getting that treat. Now, for the temporary fencing in the backyard, since we don't have a fencing backyard, that might be something you might want to put in. It's easy to take down and put up as you need to. If you get the green plastic fencing, you won't even see it with the grass. But it's just nice to be able to let him out and run around a little bit on his own. Now, we also talked about some rules. One of the rules, not allowing the dogs up on the furniture, or definitely not on top of there, which he sometimes does. But the higher dog sits, the more ranker status they have. So making the furniture for humans only helps him see us up here and him down here. I recommended X mats, the letter X, M-A-T-S. They're about $11 a piece. You'll need about 4 of them. You can get them on Amazon or Chewy. Look for ones about $11, $12 max. I've seen them in like pet stores for like $15, $20, so don't do that. You need about 4 of them for in here. So basically, put those on the chairs when you're not there. So he sees it as a placeholder. He won't continue getting up there. The backyard, I remember where I was saying before, is since we look over it, you might want to get a piece of tabloid or legal paper and just put like 3 legal sheets on each one. So as humans, when we're standing, we can still see and let sunlight in. It's just white paper. It adds as a filter. But every time he goes to the window, he can't see out. So that'll block him, and he'll get out of a habit of guarding and thinking he's the guard dog, because I think that's his problem, is he thinks he's the guard dog. Other rules, before we let him out the door, he sleeps in one of the guardian's rooms, the door is closed. So so get up and walk to the door and tell him to sit once and say, sit. Don't repeat it multiple times. If he doesn't sit within 3 seconds, jump back in bed, pull out your iPad, read a little bit. Wait 1 minute and then go back, repeat, give him another 1 opportunity to do it right the first time. Sit. Doesn't sit this time, I walk away for 2 minutes, next time for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. So you don't want to go out, he does. If you do have to pee or whatever, just close the door and don't let him out. But what do you want him to understand is if you want me to do something, you have to pay for it. Sit. Crash. So you have to sit. It's the smallest thing you do as a dog. And as soon as I sit, boy, that door flies wide open. So after a while, he'll go sit at the door as his way of saying, I like to go outside. Yes. Give me your belly. Thinking about it, you're not sure. Let me see. Other rules: shouldn't be allowed around the dining room table when we're serving food. Rest time, you can come and go. Shouldn't be allowed in the L around the kitchen in between the work island and the counters when we're preparing food. The rest of the time, you can come and go. Now, if you go to my website where I talked about before and type in invisible or invisible boundary, there's videos that'll show you how to use those escalating consequences to practice having the dog stay away from the invisible boundary. Now, he was going to start humping me. So what he did is he pulled his arms around me, started squeezing my arm. That's the prelude. That's a domination move. So as soon as he does that, I want you to act like you're very offended at what he does. This is playful. I'm not worried about this. But although this isn't ideal for you guys' situation, because I think he thinks he's in charge of it, I'm going to be leaving in a minute, so it doesn't matter to me. But you don't want to let him hump you, because anything a dog is doing in your presence that you don't specifically disagree with, you're saying I'm cool with. Now, for your bed, does he sleep with you in bed or in the dog bed? Okay. So if he does share your bed, then make sure it's when you invite him up, not when he decides to get up on his own, sit. And then tell him where in the bed you want him to be. It can't be wherever you want. You get sit here, or there's a whole lot of floor for you. But I'm going to share my bed with you. I'm going to dictate where you're going to do this. Now, walks are a great way to burn energy. I'd like to continue walking, and that's really better for leadership. If you have problems with the walk, you can search for videos for that on my website as well. Same thing with the resource guarding, and invisible boundaries and all the rest of that stuff. And the CER, if you're going back to the vet's office. But the idea is if he is going to get a shot or a thermometer in the butt, get like a piece of roast beef, have it cut like about 1/3 of an inch thick, and have like chunks, like roast beef chunks like this, a big thin one, like a meat stick. So you let him chew on it. He's like, oh, this is amazing. Thermometer in my butt. Okay, but I'm still eating this stuff. So sometimes we'll give a dog a really high value thing, and then we'll give him the shot. If you have to get a shot and he doesn't like those, ask the vet for the tiniest gauge of needle so it'll be easier for him. But also set him up for success. Exercise him, giving him 10 minutes to recover, then going to the vet's office puts him in that good mood. And you should do that when you're going there for practice as well as for a regular vet visit. If you're petting him and he puts his paw on your arm, that's a domination move. Immediately stop petting him. Try to get in the habit of playing a little hard to get. If you want to pet him, ask him to come to you. Don't go to him, and don't repeat the command words multiple times. Anything else you want to go over? Chester, would you like a treat? It's like, is my name Chester? Of course I want a treat. All right, anything else you want to go over in this video? Oh, one last thing. For the person who wasn't here, if you don't enforce the rules, or you don't pet with a purpose, or pass the training, or the rest of those things, you will undermine the work that everybody else is doing. It really needs to be across the board. And I want you to, even though it's not a big deal, it's not a big joke, if he bites the wrong person, they can actually take him away from you, and you don't have any choice. He might get put to sleep. And so I don't see him as an aggressive dog. I think he's a little bit confused about some things. But these rules and structure, a lot of people disregard, especially when people are here for this session. They don't get all the ins and all the extra information I give. Like, whatever, I'm going to let the dog on the couch. Well, it's going to make it a lot harder for somebody else. And all it takes is him to get out once and bite the wrong person. And unfortunately, I've seen this happen multiple times where the dog gets euthanized. And so I don't want to end this video on a downer, but I want to convey the importance of it because it is important. And remember, it takes at least 66 days to form a new behavior pattern. So at least 66 days, if not longer, for the no furniture, not being allowed in the kitchen, and all that fun stuff. Well, Chester just went to Florida, which is his command for going to the dog bed, and he laid down on his own without any treats there. Also, another video I have if you have questions on that, but I think that we already got that one covered. All right, well, let's do one more. I'm going to bring you over, even though you're in your dog bed. We need you to wrap up the video. Chester, sit. Come here, a little closer. Sit. This is Chester, and this is Chester's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.